To live centre ring parade of champions. The Bradford's on display at the moment. And if you weren't here earlier in the week, I can tell you that we had some success with the Clifton-based Sunny Lawn Bradford stud taking out grand champion female. And MCN Wolfman was our grand champion male. Rick Greenup was our judge. And we're seeing the Charbray make their way into the ring next. Was judged by David Bonfield, a man who has been enormously successful over the years here at Beef of Palgrove Pastoral Company, of course. And in his adjudication this year, it went the way of Wattlebray Charbrays. They took out champion female and were also very successful in numerous other competitions. Greenfield Smithy took out grand champion bull. The Charolais looking magnificent, making their way into the ring. And the big question is this year, can it be a trifecta for the Charolais? 3 years in a row, is it possible? And Clearview Rain from Clearview Charolais was our grand champion, taking out a trio of class champion classes. Females looking magnificent too out there. Moongal Charolais successful once again, and the big question is, can the Price family get the heifer hat trick? Well, back here in studio, we asked the question about income assets for our farmers. There is certainly an art and a science to structuring your income assets, and as the wealth grows for many farming families, it's important to have some of that money invested off farm. So I welcome from Minnett, the CEO, Karl Morris. AO, welcome to the studio.
Thanks, Maria. It looks a little bit wet out in the main ring, doesn't it?
Is this uncharacteristic? I don't know.
Well, I came here 3 years ago and it was very dry then, but it's a little bit wet out there just at the minute, so I'm happy to be in the dry studio here. So.
You look after the financial health of a lot of high net worth farmers and farming families. You are someone who's a CEO of an organisation, and you still advise clients, which I find quite fascinating.
Well, it's the best part of my job. You know, people's lives are very complex, and one of the things that we're able to provide, it's been around over 150 years, and so we've gone through sort of generational farming families and also business leaders. So it's one of the things that we pride ourselves most on is that we're an advice business first and foremost. So just the fact that every single person has a very different position in their life and what they want to achieve and how they want to structure. It's not all just about the investment side. It's about actually giving that right advice about how they want to structure the business, and and of course lots of things have happened over in my career, particularly superannuation, and it was sort of set up to give people a great retirement, and that's one of the things we probably advise most with the farming families now in relation to how they can have off farm assets in a very attractive environment, being self-managed superannuation funds or just other funds.
Well, let's go into some of the details on that. A super cap that really could affect a lot of farming families.
Yes. Not only the $3 million cap, but also one of the things that we're trying very hard. I'm going to Canberra next week. The actual taxation of assets that you haven't actually realised is a huge concern for a lot of farming families. So it's not legislated yet. We're trying very hard through lobbying, through all sorts of associations, and directly, as I said, I'll be in Canberra next week myself. It's very odd to be able to tax particularly farms. A lot of farmers have put, whatever assets they have, whether they be farming assets or cattle assets or other assets, it just doesn't seem very Australian to tax assets that you actually haven't realised the profit on. So there may be some movement in that.
Karl, you and I are enjoying the Charbrays on our screen at the moment, looking magnificent. Have you got a particular favourite breed, or are you going to stay agnostic?
Well, I was just with the Angus people. I didn't realise that they were about 70% of the market.
I think that number's getting bumped up a little.
Is it getting bumped up a little? Yeah. Well,
it's pretty big though.
I do have a little bit of exposure to Belmont Red, so I'd be remiss of me not to give them a little plug. But no, I'm very agnostic here today. I didn't realise it was 3 years in a row potentially for the Charolais. So
well, actually, 8 out of the 12 years Charolais have taken out the heifer champ.
Wow.
Isn't that huge?
That's very exciting for them.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the vehicles that farmers can deploy their cash into outside of their farming assets.
Yeah, I think one of the things that when I first looked at when I was a young stockbroker, most farmers wanted to have very liquid assets because the very cyclical market, not only the stock market but also the farming assets. And I think that sort of changed as property prices have increased, the wealth of farmers have increased, and also just due to the fact that some of the changes that have taken place in the corporatisation of ag assets. So the primary place that farming families want to invest is through superannuation, and it's the diversification that they can now get, whether it be in cash, property, fixed interest, private equity. It's a lot more complex world than the one I started in, and you're able to provide farmers a few of the things that they really want, which is that security that if there is a downturn in their business, that they can draw back on that capital, that they can use it back in their farm, or that they can use it to provide that once that they're finishing their career on the farming and they want to go live close to the beach, and that they can actually use those assets and let the next generation take over that farm, so that they do have that off balance sheet asset that they can go and live off.
Carl, we're looking at our beautiful droughties now, the Drought Masters on screen, and their CEO, Simon Gleeson, does such a great job promoting them. They've got a phenomenal setup here on the grounds here at Beef 2024. Can we talk about some of the things that farmers can be a little tardy about? We talk a lot about succession planning, and it's so complex, it's such a struggle for so many. But wills, estate planning, it's like one of those things in life that you have to get on top of. Yeah,
I think everyone's got the right intention, and when a lot of people don't update. I'm updating my own wills at the moment. I have 5 children, and last time I did it was 10 years ago. So, 10 years later, I now have a grandchild, and it's actually keeping things up to date. I think I think most people have the right intention, do the right thing at certain stages of their life because their accountant or lawyer or stockbroker or investment advisor tells them to do so. But it's actually remaining current. I think that's one of the great things. But also the greatest difficulty is having a conversation. It's actually having someone to sit down, have that mediation, if I could put it that way, but having that conversation about the complex world that we're in, and the different ways that not only the economies can go, but that families can go. Families are very complex, I've found, and we're very happy to assist people in the way that they may be thinking of helping the next generation come through. But it's primarily just having consistent, repetitive updating of your financial position and advice.
Fabulous Fleckvies on our screen at the moment. They're just a gorgeous breed indeed. Can we talk a little bit about, you've had a career in this space, not to give away your age, but 36 years with Minnett. And
that's pretty much giving it away, yes.
Started at 4 years old. And you have watched a real change in the landscape, no doubt, of who owns Australian farms. What are your comments on the corporatisation of agriculture?
Well, it's been extraordinary. When I sort of think of my early career, and it was only individuals that owned farms, and farms were could be quite a bit smaller in terms of being able to support a family. And then as families have grown, we've now seen some of the corporatisation, not only with some public companies, which is very I think public companies are a very difficult place for a lot of ag assets to be. I'm not a huge fan of it, just due to the fact that they usually trade at a significant discount. The cycle of the stock market can be very different to the cycle of the ag. But what you're seeing now is just due to the fact that people are trying to diversify their assets. So if you think Australia's about the 4th largest pension investment market in the world, but if you think of the Canadians, you think of the Americans, you think of some of the European countries, they're trying to diversify their assets. It's just not enough assets going around, for all the cash that's there to be invested. And what they're prepared to do is actually take a lesser return. So ag's becoming it's becoming more and more attractive. So I think what you're going to see is you're going to continue to see very large pension funds around the world continue to buy large swathes of land here in Australia, and prepared to take capital growth rather than income return. So in the past everyone was sort of worried about liquidity and getting a cash return. People investing for 20, 30, 40 years now, they're not overly concerned about that income that they were in the past.
It's been a great joy to catch up with you, Karl Morris. I know you love coming up to Beef. Go and enjoy the Parade of Champions. Are you putting your money anywhere in particular today?
No, I'm not. Well, I did laugh on the way to the airport this morning. I did see one of my best friend's ads on the way to the airport, the worst vegetarian restaurant, the Norman Hotel. So I did have a laugh at that as I came here. But no, I just love coming up here and seeing so many friends. It's been wonderful.
How do you have your steak?
Medium rare.
Karl Morris, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Hey, don't go anywhere. It's the Beef Olympics today. Interbreed judging set to get underway. Our parade of champions in the ring at the moment. They're the gorgeous Gelbies that were just on your screen.